Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your Barrico from Street Scores, and I am back. First of all, I'm feeling way better, not 100%, but you know, with the struggles I'm still going through, we just gonna Michael Bay this video real quick and make it look perfect, make it look like I'm Superman out here. Do a little bit of Quentin Tarantino production on this. But man, it's time to get to it. Sorry I've been gone for so long, but today we're doing a full injury report on the whole Commanders versus Cowboys situation so far. Granted, we don't know exactly who's playing and who's not playing yet, but Thursday does have good indications as to who may or may not play in the game because we've had two practices that we've already had throughout the week, Wednesday and Thursday's practices. Also, we will be wearing black helmets versus the Cowboys as well. We're going to take a look at some of those right now and what they look like currently. Not just some concepts, but on actual players that were wearing them in practice this week. Also, the Washington Commanders worked out 4 receivers. None of them, it looks like, have been signed yet, but who knows, man. We're going to keep an eye on that and try to break down why we brought those 4 guys in. And then also any other random news that went down as well this week. And before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Later on tonight, I'm trying to work on a film session breaking down all 9 sacks that went down against the Eagles. We're going to take a look at every single play from all 22 angle and see if it's because the receivers weren't getting open. Was it a bad play call from Scott Turner? Was it just the offensive line was terrible? Or was it all on Carson Wentz's shoulders? We're going to get down to the bottom of it, man. And of course, make sure you pull up every Sunday for the During the Game live stream. As long as I don't get sick out of nowhere, I will be live streaming during every regular season game. And we'll have the post-game live stream either later that night or the following day, usually Monday. And shouts out to everybody that wished me well and gave me different remedies that I should use and things like that, man. Shouts out to all of y'all, man. I appreciate it. Let's get it. Alright, so starting with the injury report, on our side, the guys that did not participate, only one, Wes Schweitzer, dealing with a concussion, has not participated in practice all week. That's not looking too good because, honestly, with Chase Roulier on the IR, temporary IR, hopefully he only missed like 4 weeks, but he may end up missing a year. Who knows? But right now, honestly, our best offensive line combination will be Charles Leno at left tackle, Trey Turner at left guard, or maybe actually you move Andrew Norwell to left guard over Trey Turner. It's between them two who will be at left guard. Then you would have Wes Schweitzer at center, if he's even healthy to go. Samuel Cosmi moved to right guard, and Cornelius Lucas is your right tackle. Only problem with that is that we're 1 injury away from being a complete disaster. At least what we're projected to go in with, if Wes Schweitzer can't play, it will be Nick Martin at center and it will be everybody else at the usual positions. But if there's an injury, you know, if there's an injury to the tackles, Cornelius Lucas can step in for Samuel Cosmi or Charles Leno. If there's an injury to the guards, you're fairly comfortable with like a Sadiq Charles or somebody like that stepping up. But if you go with the 5 that I said, which is honestly our best 5 right now, where Cornelius Lucas is your starting right tackle, but if there's an injury, that's where things get a little ugly. But back to the injury report again, as far as Thursday goes, the only did not participate was Wes Schweitzer. Wednesday, as in yesterday, Charles Leno didn't participate, but he was limited today with a shoulder injury, and Ron Rivera already spoke on it, basically said that they're kind of just letting him go slow. Basically gave him a Veterans Day off yesterday with the injury, and then today again eased him back in slow, but he's going to play against the Cowboys. They're expecting him to. As far as other limiteds, you had linebacker Milo Eifler, who's basically just a special teamer right now, and then our starting defensive end in place of Chase Young, James Smith-Williams. He's been limited all throughout the week, but I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't play against the Cowboys. And everybody else participated fully Thursday. Even if they didn't participate fully Wednesday, everybody else Thursday, they're good. Sadiq Charles, Samuel Cosmi, Benjamin St-Juste, Casey Toohill, Daniel Wise, William Jackson III, and David Mayo. And William Jackson III is interesting because Benjamin St-Juste was our best corner this season when he was outside. And so when you bring back William Jackson, do you move Benjamin St-Juste back into the slot? How does that work? Because the Cowboys' best receiver is obviously CeeDee Lamb, and I want Benjamin St-Juste covering him, not anybody else. All game, I want Benjamin St-Juste following him around the field. Granted, there was some plays where Benjamin St-Juste Juice got beat against the Eagles, but I don't think William Jackson or Kendall Fuller would have done any better on some of those plays, especially the AJ Brown touchdown where he just straight muscled him and got in. And it was crazy because I was sick watching that, but that play made me even more sick than I already was. But it's just like, what can you do? That's literally what AJ Brown does. He's been doing that since he was a kid. We saw him doing that in college. We saw him doing that for the Titans. I wasn't surprised when he did it against us. But still, Benjamin St-Juste, his game against the Eagles was the best cornerback game I've seen from any of our corners so far this season. And it's going to be really weird to just go ahead and demote him back to being a slot corner after a performance like that. And then William Jackson, who's been struggling, Kendall Fuller, who's been getting attacked all deep down the field, to have both of those as your outside receivers and Benjamin St-Juste barely playing looks a little weird in my opinion. Also, it's really nice that Cameron Curl isn't on the injury report at all. Like, they didn't even include him. You know, David Mayo and William Jackson were full participants all week, Wednesday and Thursday, fully participated, but Cameron Curl's not even on the injury report, so he's 100%. And then the Dallas Cowboys side, of course, Dak Prescott is their one did not participate with his right thumb injury. I do not expect him to play against us. Maybe he'll be ready to play the following week, but not even sure about that. And then after that, they have 4 players that were limited. You have Javon Curse, DeMarcus Lawrence, Connor McGovern, and Dalton Schultz. But honestly, all of those guys, I'd be surprised if any of them didn't play in this game. I think they're all going to play. Then you have Simi Fehoko with the shoulder injury. He was a full participant. Michael Gallup was a full participant. And Luke Gifford was also a full participant. And honestly, Michael Gallup with his speed, you may prefer William Jackson on him. And like I said, Benjamin St-Juste needs to follow CeeDee Lamb all day, in my opinion. And then Kendall Fuller, we'll just find a place for him. Find him to cover somebody. But yeah, I mean, other than people that's on IR, because that doesn't come up on the injury report with Chase Roulier, and you got Brian Robinson on the NFI list, you have Chase Young and Tyler Larson on the PUP list. Outside of those guys, we're a fairly healthy team, but when you got to say like 4 names and then say outside of that we're healthy, it means we're clearly not that healthy. But you know, Wes Schweitzer is still a problem. We're gonna have to figure out what's going on there as well. Hopefully Nick Martin is not our starting center, but it looks like he may end up being that. Also, an update on Brian Robinson and Chase Young, since we're bringing them up anyway. They were both on the side field pulling sleds in Wednesday's practice. So, I mean, they're moving along. John Comm said in his podcast that he would actually not be surprised if both Brian Robinson and Chase Young are ready the first week that they're eligible, which is next week, week 5 against the Chicago Bears. The tricky part is it's a Thursday night game. It's a short week. So we'll see which one plays. I feel like Brian Robinson, even though he was recently shot, is probably more likely to come back sooner than a Chase Young. But John Comm said again that he would not be surprised if both of those guys play against the Bears. And poor Bears, because like all these other teams are catching us without our power running back, without our supposed to be star defensive player, and as soon as the Bears come along, everybody just comes back. They're gonna be like, wait, I thought this was a different team than this. Why they gotta get healthy right before they play us? But we'll see, man. Hopefully those guys are ready to return. Again, it's a short week, so they may just hold one or maybe all of those guys, including Tyler Larson, until the week 6 game, so that they can have a nice long week to practice, to prepare to make their NFL debuts this season. And Brian Robinson, his NFL debut ever. But we'll see. Hopefully they're just fully healthy and ready to go against the Bears Thursday night. And now we're on to the black helmets, man. So it's a lot of teams wearing alternate helmets this season. We'll be wearing our alternate helmets week 4, 9, and 12. Week 4, this game against the Dallas Cowboys kind of catches us off guard because we already knew when we were wearing what jersey colors for what games, but it's all home games that we know. We don't know away games. So this Cowboys game is in Dallas, and so us wearing black helmets kind of came out of nowhere. But we already knew that the Vikings game, November 6th in FedEx Field, is going to be a blackout game, so I'm not surprised that we're wearing our alternate helmets then. And same with week 12 against the Falcons in Landover, we're wearing our black jerseys then as well. So I already knew that we'd probably be wearing black helmets week 9 and 12, but again, week 4 just kind of came out of nowhere because it sounds like we'll just be wearing regular white jerseys and we're just gonna throw the black helmet on real quick. And just for a live look at what the helmets look like right now, I mean, you have the tight end group's helmets right here, and then you see Antonio Gibson and a few other players, JD McKissick included, with their black helmets on. Now granted, they have on the white jerseys and it's kind of practice, so this is not what the ensemble is gonna look like during the game against the Cowboys, but we'll see, because it's quite likely that we may end up wearing our white jerseys, but maybe we don't. Maybe we switch it up and wear the burgundies. Maybe we switch it up and wear the blacks. Who knows? We'll see. But for sure, we're wearing the black helmets against the Cowboys. Outside of that, we don't know. But Ron Rivera was asked a question during his press press conference recently. He got a lot of black jersey questions, and he said, quote, "It's one of the uniforms we have, one of the alternates. We thought wearing black would be good," unquote. So it sounds like we're supposed to wear black uniforms against the Cowboys. We're gonna be black, at least head to chest, head to torso, and maybe the shoes, but probably not the pants. I don't know, maybe the pants as well. So it sounds like Ron Rivera is saying we will be wearing all black against the Cowboys, but I'm not exactly sure yet. Maybe that's like a thing they came up with last second to kind of get the fans engaged with these two bad losses we've had back to back, maybe to get us engaged and like, oh yeah, this is our chance to steal a win for the Cowboys. We're gonna wear all black, we're gonna get one in Dallas type of thing. And hey man, if it works, it works. Let's get it. But either way, I'm really excited to see these jerseys, but you don't want to put this whole ensemble on and go to Dallas and play the same way you've been playing these past 2 weeks. Please don't do that. Now on to a lot of other random things. First of all, the NFC East is currently the best division in football by win percentage this season. The NFC East has a .667 win percentage right now. The next closest is the AFC East and NFC North tied with a .583. So no more NFC least, at least as of right now. It's an early season, it's only been 3 games, but as of right now, the NFC East is the NFC Beast instead of the NFC least. Also, the Commanders have worked out 4 players, like I spoke about earlier, via the transaction wire. No reporters really noticed these guys doing anything. They were all receivers. And based on how some of these guys are built, it's probably because of Dax Milne in the return game, and they're probably trying to find another option. Remember, we had Kyrick McGowan, we had Jaquez Ezzard, we had Matt Cole. We brought in a lot of returners, and don't forget Alex Erickson, who was right there competing with Dax Milne to the very end. I mean, I'm still in the group of we need to go ahead and throw Jahan Dotson back. I mean, the Eagles weren't afraid to throw Devonta Smith out there, and I feel like Devonta Smith has a way longer injury history than Jahan Dotson ever has. And if they're not afraid to throw their playmaker back there, why are we? You see these teams that are out here not afraid to gamble, out here winning games, and us being conservative in every way possible, out here losing games. I think it says something. But either way, at least they're looking for other options and not just simply accepting Dax Milne as our primary punt and kick returner for the remainder of the season. I still want to throw Antonio Gibson back there, and hopefully when Brian Robinson returns, Antonio Gibson will take over kick returns at least, but that doesn't solve our punt return problem. But yeah, for all of the guys, you have Caden Davis, you have Cyril Grayson, Tyshawn James, and Kevin Shaw. And Kevin Shaw comes from Liberty, which I thought was pretty interesting. So probably a former teammate of Antonio Gandy Golden, but Kevin Shaw is 5'10", 165. Cyril Grayson is 5'9", 183. Like, those are 2 returners that we're trying to bring in, because I'm sure it's not for the receiver position. I mean, out of any position group we have on our team right now, the receiver position has probably been our most consistent. They've been more consistent. They've been better than even the defensive line. So far, that's like the only position group I'm not looking at like first round wise in the draft when I'm starting to evaluate the team, because y'all know I'm big on football, college football, even high school football recruiting, and y'all know I love the draft process. So I'm not necessarily doing videos on it yet, but best believe I'm keeping an eye on a lot of the top prospects, especially my Georgia Bulldogs, and like looking at our team's weaknesses and like, man, if we just had this guy, we can get this guy in the draft, we'll be straight. And like the receiving group is honestly the last group I'm looking at for bringing in a guy in the first 3 rounds. Maybe if there's like a ridiculously talented guy and it's kind of like you just can't miss out on him, and maybe you let Curtis Samuel walk because of his contract. I don't know even now what Curtis Samuel's doing this year. I want to keep him for sure long term. But either way, man, like receiving group, back to my main point, is the least of our worries right now. So if you're bringing in a bunch of receivers, I'm pretty sure it's for the return game and not necessarily to upgrade the receiving group right now. But then you have a 6'2", 214-pound Tyshawn James, and Caden Davis is 6'1", 190. Now, all of those guys could actually be brought in to return. I mean, even Tyshawn James, who's 6'2", 214 pounds. I mean, even at that size, he ran a 4.45, and he's the biggest guy being brought in easily out of the 4, tallest and heaviest. And if he ran a 4.45 and everybody else ran similar times and quicker, like I said, I think this was just a big 4-man tryout for the punt return spot. Please convince us to replace Dax Milne with one of y'all. And so far, it looks like none of them passed the test. It looks like Dax Milne will probably be our returner going into Dallas, since we signed neither of those guys. But it shows that the Commanders are looking for another punt returner, because Dax Milne has not been doing it. I mean, at least against the Eagles, he finally let some punts go over his head and back into the end zone, so he wouldn't have to start within the 25. We could start at the 25, but it's still nothing special. I miss DeAndre Carter. I've been one of those people that's still confused as to why we didn't bring him back. And then in very random news, according to Forbes, 2021, the Washington football team was worth $4.2 billion. Dan Snyder was worth $2.6 billion. For some reason, in 2022, the Commanders went up to 5.6, and Dan Snyder almost doubled his net worth up to $4.9 billion. I don't know why the franchise gained $1.4 billion in value from last year to this year, and I'm not sure why Dan Snyder's net worth increased by 2.3, again almost double what he was worth last year. I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes that Forbes knows about that we don't, but apparently he's doing something. Also, the Washington Commanders announced the hiring of Jean Medina as Chief Communications Officer. She will report to Commanders President Jason Wright and oversee internal and external communications, football communications, and public affairs, unquote. So another person kind of on the business side, the PR side. So shouts out to her. And yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Like I already said, make sure you stay tuned for the film session on every sack that we took against the Eagles. We're gonna literally break it down and be like, whose fault was it this time? I may even do like a counter. We're gonna keep like a number tracker. It's not as simple as it's clearly this one thing's fault. Some plays it will probably be 3 or maybe all 4 factors fault: quarterback, Scott Turner, offensive line, and receivers not getting open. But we're still gonna try to keep like some type of tracker on screen, so by the end of the video we'll know who to be the most angry at. But then again, some things it's really hard to even tell what is exactly going on. Even looking at the all 22, who knows if Scott Turner called to certain things and they just messed it up, or if the receivers are not open because of Scott Turner, or they're just not getting open because they weren't able to get open. Like, it's gonna be really hard to interpret everything exactly and fully break it down and be 100% correct with it, but I'm gonna do my best. And I feel like we should still be able to walk away with, oh yeah, this is trash, we need to improve this, we need to work on this, we need to add this right now in free agency, or we need to draft this in the draft or something like that, or we need to fire this and hire this. But it's an early season, so we're not gonna overreact like that yet. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Again, I appreciate all the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.